dear viewers, welcome to our August video. As we promised you during our last module on audience analysis, we are going to begin on content structure. So here we are, ready to begin on how do we actually prepare for a presentation. So let's dive straight into it. Now in the basic presentation, as you may have already known, there are three parts, and they are introduction, body and conclusion. Intro, body and conclusion. For today's video, we're going to cover one part of the introduction, which has four in total, which is the opening of a presentation, number two, the purpose of a presentation, number three, the background of a presentation, and number four, the objective of a presentation. So let's focus on the first one, which is opening. In an opening of a presentation, what comes to your mind? You're standing in front of your audience, and as we have heard many times before, the first 30 seconds of a presentation will basically set the impression of your presentation. Meaning, you've got to ensure that your opening is something interesting, fun and an attention grabber. So let me share with you a few options that you could use for in terms of opening. Number one, you may want to start your presentation with a question. For example, how do you all feel today? And by asking that question, what is bound to happen? That's right, you will get some kind of response from your audience. So you may want to consider starting your presentation with a question. Let's take a look at a second option you may want to consider, and that is story. You may want to start your presentation with an interesting story. Do you recall when you were a child before, many years ago, when your parents shared with you a story before you slept, you were actually very interested to listen to the story and eventually you fell asleep? Well, we are more interested in the first part, getting interested in the story. So when you share a story, you automatically grab your audience attention. The third area that you may want to consider is crucial statistics. Statistics has a way of getting attention from your audience. Now, let me give you an example. If you're doing a workplace presentation, you might want to share important statistics like 10 out of 100 employees meet with an accident every single month in an average. So you put a figure 10 or 10%, you are sure to get attention. In fact, you can hybrid that statistics with a question, just putting a 10% and asking your audience, what does this 10% represent to you? And you get a lot of interesting answers. And then again, you have an opportunity to interact with your audience. The fourth option that you want to consider would be what we call as a conversational opening. And I use that very often in my presentation. I think it works all the time. Conversational opening focuses on starting off your presentation with sharing about a conversation you had with someone. Example, recently I was having a chat with my friend at a coffee shop, and he was sharing with me how life has become so stressful for him. And I asked him, why is it so stressful? He said, no Mike, it's so stressful because of the traffic lately. And I find that coming to work is a great stress, and that takes off a lot of my attention from work and I'm not able to concentrate. And that gave me an opportunity to give him one very important piece of advice. So starting off your presentation with a conversation that you had with someone makes your presentation seem very contemporary, seems candid, and seems spontaneous. It doesn't seem like a presentation anymore. So conversational opening will be a very interesting way of opening your presentation. The next one would be what I call as a surprise opening. A surprise opening is coming up with a provocative statement or something shocking and then makes everybody awake. For example, in some of the trainings that I conduct, I use a surprise opening, something like this. Training is useless. Everybody gets shocked. Wow, what's all this about? The trainer is saying that training is useless. And then I finish the sentence by saying, if only it is used. Training is useless unless it is used. So this is one way of getting your audience to get shocked. Whoa, why is it training? Until they hear the full sentence and then they get a full picture of what you actually meant. So that is a surprise opening. The next option would be sharing something funny, a humor, and a story, but something funny. So it gives an opportunity for your audience to laugh. And this is where I normally share humorous stories, so something the humorous on this line. I'll give them an example of a husband was actually having breakfast one day, and he asked for his coffee, but when the wife made a drink, it was actually a hot chocolate. And then he asked her, oh, why are you making a hot chocolate when I normally have coffee? And then she says, you know what, the hot chocolate is going to expire tomorrow, so I'm giving you the hot chocolate so you finish it so it doesn't get expired, and we'll have your coffee tomorrow again. So he was trying to create the story about first in, first out in warehouse management, and that was an interesting way of, and people actually laugh when they hear a story like that. And then the next option, the final one, would be starting off your presentation with a short video. You know, show a video or something motivational, something inspirational, even something funny, and the audience get to laugh or get engaged in a funny or even inspirational video, and that brings them into your presentation. So what's really important, ladies and gentlemen, in the first part of introduction, and that is opening, is coming up with an interesting opening, and by doing so you would have got the attention of your audience. I hope you found this video to be useful, and I encourage you to have an interesting opening.